Hello there, everyone. How are we all doing? Happy Wednesday. We're starting a little bit earlier today as we are trying to sort of accommodate more of a time when people would like to watch the podcast during work or just after work and things like that. So hope you all enjoy this new start time. Yes, we're today joined by another fantastic creator by the name of Khronos, or KhronosVII, but I believe he's trying to get it changed. But yes, he's been in the streaming space for quite a while before he even started going live himself. So we're going to talk about that and anything and everything to do with creating today. But yeah, let's jump into it. Here's the man himself. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It feels like it's been 2 weeks in the space of 3 days.
Yep. I know that feeling.
Standard just time, I guess.
That's the way things are at the moment. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So
very busy.
I guess the best way to start this off, and we always do on the podcast, is for all the people who don't know who you are and are watching across the now 3 channels we're live on, tell us about Khronos.
Cool, yeah, I can do that. So, hi, my name is Khronos. Nice to meet you. I started my time on kind of Twitch with content creation probably about 10 or so years ago, starting to moderate for a couple of small streaming friends, kind of 10, 15 CCV, meeting some more friends, moving my way up and ended up moderating for channels about 200-300 CCV. And then, moving up to moderate from there for channels with anywhere between kind of 2 and 10,000 before last year, on June the 5th, I started streaming, which was great. Got a very strong, very lovely community behind me, some of whom I can see over on Twitch, which is lovely to see them all, of course. And yeah, so my background was, before content creation myself, was supporting other content creators with everything from moderation to computers to games to sponsorships. Some of the things that obviously are quite useful to know about once you do start content creation. So I guess it's all quite helpful knowledge.
I was going to say, you've basically had training 101 on how to be a streamer without being a streamer for several years. So when you've jumped into it, you're like, oh, I know how this works.
Oh, I've seen this before. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I guess with moderating, and my sort of thing is, when I started streaming, I jumped into it because I was like, hey, I want to go live. From your side, having seen sort of the back end of a lot of streamers' setups and how they run their streams, etc., was that a different experience for you going live for the first time? As in, like, were you prepared? You were like, right, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly how I'm going into this. Or did you still just jump in and be like, we'll see how it goes?
I don't think anyone knows what they're actually going to encounter when they first go into it. I definitely didn't know what I was doing. I kind of went into it semi-informed. Sure, I understood a little bit about kind of the reality of using something like OBS, setting up some software, making sure that the games ran. What I don't think I really understood was quite how much decision-making and mental energy goes into a long stream. So my average stream is something like 9 hours long. But by the end of it, particularly for the first week, month, maybe even 2 or 3 months, by the end of each stream, I would just get done. I would just kind of sit here like this. Okay, what now? Because the level of focus and taking it very seriously, and also not wanting to let down your audience who are there it can actually be quite a lot. So I think the real challenge that I found has not necessarily been around the practical and technical sides, but it's more been around the mental and the energy sides. That's kind of the hard things to managing content creation, because you're doing it all for yourself at the end of the day, not for a manager. And before streaming, I was obviously, before that, and outside of my content creation time, I was very involved in consumer protection regulation. It's kind of been my background before that. So I was working in large corporate companies, some of whom you'll have heard of here in the UK. Companies like Vodafone, etc., are quite large. So going from that, where you've got a manager, you've got a corporate structure, to content creation is very, very different. That's a big step.
Also having a set amount of holiday that you can take without feeling guilty. I don't know about you, but every time I take a break from streaming, I'm like, I should be streaming.
You can take holiday without feeling guilty?
It's true. Yes, it's a rare phenomenon for people who work jobs where they let you. I think that the streaming world is something that a lot of people underestimate. As you said, the energy that goes into it, because you're not just as people are like, oh, you don't just go live and play games or go live and, you know, in my case, play music. It's you're entertaining. You are, even if you go into it without a plan, you have this.
Yep.
You're beholden to
Yes.
putting something on that people are going to enjoy watching.
Yeah, you can't play whatever you want. You can't play, you know, games, whichever game you want. You can't play whichever song you want. It's not quite that simple. And the people who say, "Oh yeah, but you could just go live with any game, we'd watch you," very, very loving, very, you know, kind of flattering. But also, it's not actually that realistic because it's not true of everyone. Also, not every game is as engaging long term to watch versus to play yourself. And I think that's, you know, it's part of creating content. For you, I'm sure there are songs which are great fun for an audience to listen to, but actually really kind of boring to play, and vice versa.
Oh, yeah. The amount of times I've been asked for In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins, and little do people realise that
It's very quiet apart from one particular bit.
90% of that song is a drum machine, aside from the bit.
Waiting for the bit.
It's like, I'll leave this on, I'll go make a cup of tea, and then I'll come back. And yeah, exactly the same. And like you say, some games are definitely like that. I mean, that actually leads really nicely into sort of the next question that I like to ask people, which is, as a game streamer, what is your main focus? Do you go for a genre, or do you go for those engaging games? I know, obviously, you play a lot of Dune Awakening, which I do too, which is all your fault. So
I'm not sorry. I think, I started off with Dune Awakening when it launched. It was always kind of my goal. I was very involved in that game before it went live, working with the devs and, you know, kind of PTR testing it. So I had that advantage going in. I knew it. So when I started streaming, it was kind of easier to play a game that I already kind of knew the feel of very, very well. But in terms of genres, I seem to naturally gravitate towards kind of open world and survival crafting games where I can wander off and get distracted by shiny things. Who that's very unlike most gamers, I know. But I wouldn't say there is. I mean, I've been enjoying quite a few demos recently, and like I was talking to you earlier, there's a couple of cool kind of music-based demos that I'm kind of interested in. But I think the real joy of gaming and being able to stream games is actually that you aren't tied down to a particular genre. And I think that being stuck in one game for me feels like a nightmare. The idea of doing one game every day, like, makes me feel itchy inside my skin, just not being able to play another game. Yeah.
I will rarely play one game for a whole night, let alone a whole sort of like career on streaming. It does wow me sometimes when people, no pun intended, play the same game for a significant portion of time on stream. I would definitely get bored.
I played EVE Online for nearly 15 years, so I know what it's like to play one game every day for a long time. But the nice thing about EVE is that a lot of the time it is kind of a second monitor game predominantly. You know, if you're doing kind of your more downtime activities, you can kind of second monitor it.
Yeah.
I think that an active game that you had to actively play all day in, day out, it wouldn't work for my brain, like you say. I think there has to be a level of difference, level of change, you know.
Yeah, I was once addicted to Rust for several years.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's I'm recovered now. But it's one of those games where if you do take a break, your base gets raided. You have to be constantly on, or have it, like you say, as a second monitor game. But when you bring that back to streaming, the entertainment factor starts to add on to the amount that you can actually do.
Exactly.
You know, watching you, Dune Awakening seems like the perfect game because it gives you that downtime to chat, which I guess like something like Call of Duty or Apex doesn't really give you.
When Battlefield 6 came out, I played quite a lot of that, but I found that I just get so into it that I forget to look at chat for like a minute or so. Then when I die, then I look at it and I see that I've missed a few messages. It's generally, the game makes a big difference to how you stream as well as what you stream. And I think that that's probably something that some content creators are very, very good at, being able to do no matter what game it is. For me, it's about practice. I think I'll get there eventually, and I've been getting better over time. But you know, you lock into a particular project or a game or to a level, and then all of a sudden it's been 15 minutes, you haven't read chat, and you're like, oh, it's I forgot that I had a body, and there's outside things apart from this game.
Yeah. This is why I stick to drumming, because at least I can stare at a monitor while drumming, and I could see messages. With a game, you say like 60 seconds or so, and me, I'm like, oh, I've just finished that 40-minute game of Warzone, and everyone's left. It's quite one to juggle, which I don't think a lot of people realize when they first start. And I mean, you obviously came from the mod side of reading chat, responding to chat.
Yes.
Do you find that, I think this is something which I can ask you, which very other few people could actually answer. Do you enjoy streams the same way when you're modding, or is it a different experience?
Ooh.
Because you're watching a stream, right? You're involved in the stream as a moderator, but you're not on camera, obviously.
There is a very big difference between being a streamer, being a moderator, and being a chat member. Yeah, they're very fundamentally different. When you're a moderator, you are somewhere in the middle of being a streamer and a chat member. You're basically the kind of chat member who's meant to create interest in the chat, I would say. When I like to engage with chat quite actively when I'm moderating, to talk to them, answer their questions that I can answer, say the stream has some work. But that's only really true in channels which are, I mod for, I've got mod rights on PirateSoftware, Annie Fuchsia, Admiral Baru. So those are all, 2,000 people plus. Some of those move so quickly that the streamer can't necessarily answer every single question.
Yeah.
In that situation, mods are very, very useful for that. But on a stream, say my size, 200 CCV, that's a very different proposition. I moderate my own chat. I will answer my own questions, and I pretty much answer every single chat message.
Yeah.
So the way that you interact, I think, differs depending on the size of the stream as well as your role within the stream. I don't think I can relax and find a stream as relaxing if I've got moderator rights. You're constantly looking more at chat than you are the game, and as a result, there are several games over the past few years that I've had very much spoiled by chat members, so that the streamer I'm moderating for doesn't have to have that. Yeah, that's part of that role. So I think that chat member, you can kind of relax, take in the show. You kind of very low effort. You can lurk if you need to. Moderator, kind of a bit of a step up. Streaming, you don't have any of those breaks. I think that doing long streams has really taught me how important breaks are from work. So as you know, on Twitch, you have to run 3 minutes of ads an hour to not have pre-rolls. I've got a spine problem. I use a cane, so I make sure that I get up every 45 minutes and do those 3 minutes of ads. That's really helped me with my physical health to make sure I'm getting up and taking breaks. Because when I was in a corporate environment, when I was moderating, you can really lock in. So I could sit there and work on a spreadsheet for 3, 4, 5 hours.
Yeah.
I could be in a meeting for 2 or 3 hours while I'm dealing with all kinds of idiots. You wouldn't get up. You wouldn't necessarily take a drink. You wouldn't take a break. I think the nice thing about the streams as a streamer now is that during those ad breaks, I always take a break. Very rare that I won't. There's some stuff that actually is kind of easier as a streamer as a moderator. At least about how you self-manage your own behaviors. So I've probably taken a long time to get to the answer, but the answer is yes, it's different.
No, it's a really good insight that, again, I've moderated for people, but it's more along the lines of, I've got friends, they max hit maybe 30 people streaming, which is a totally different moderator experience. I am basically there to put the banhammer down on the one guy who comes in and says something horrible. Aside from that, I'm a chatter. So I really don't have that same level of true moderation experience. So it's wonderful to have that insight into what it's like, especially, as you said, on these larger channels where the chat can be going, even in slow mode, at an incredible pace.
Don't use slow mode on any of those channels. We don't need to. You can. Your brain does something after a while of looking at like a fast Twitch chat where you just kind of speed up to meet the chat, and so people do get a little bit concerned sometimes when I'm like, "How are you reading chat?" I'm like, "It's only 3,000 people. It's fine." They're like.
See, I'm incredibly dyslexic, so it takes me a while to read a single thing. So
Yes.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to relate to that. Maybe I just need to go in and do some hardcore locking in, reading like a 5,000 CCV chat.
It's not something I would say to do just for the fun of it. I think I've got an unfair advantage. I'm used to reading legal texts. Which chat is generally less intellectual than legislation, on average. Not wanting to, not wanting to say anything about chat members, but generally, chat's not quite as densely kind of written as a legal document.
Yeah, I'd be kind of worried if it was, in all honesty. Yeah. So speaking of like your stream,
Mhm.
we are on the Steinberg channel.
Of
So we
course,
have
yes.
to ask the question, which is,
Of course.
what is your current audio setup for your
Yeah,
stream?
I talk about this on stream quite a lot because one of the things I was concerned about when I started streaming was, okay, how do I make myself sound clear, be easily heard, communicate easily, but also have good quality and keep it so that I don't have to change it. Because my whole goal was to set up so that I didn't have to change anything unless it was an absolute emergency. So I quite early on picked up the Elgato Wave 3. I just picked up the Wavelink software that comes with it and I played around a little bit inside. So, I've set my channels up so I've got, browsers to come through the browser, music comes through the music. And I've got on the mic, I've got, a compressor so that, you hear everything kind of an equal volume. I've got the de-esser so you don't hear silly sausages, you don't hear that kind of sibilance across the microphone.
Yeah.
A few other bits like that, but I think there's an EQ on there just to take some of the room sound out, noise gate so you don't hear the cat screaming, etc. But other than that, it's very, very basic. By design, because ultimately I know that I'm not an audio expert. I know that I could have really overdone it with XLRs and all kinds of stuff, but this just what I plug it in and it works. Like, that's all I really want.
And what headphones do you run? Because now here's an interesting thing. A lot of game streamers that I know will run a gaming headset, which is usually USB, etc. I'm assuming that's not USB. It looks like it has...
It could be USB. With the last 2 or 3 mics that I've used, the advantage of the Wave 3 is that there is a 3.5mm jack in the back of it, so I can plug my headset in directly to that so I can hear myself live by the second. The issue I have with digital kind of being able to hear so back is that slight delay is just enough to really upset my brain. And we were talking about this at TwitchCon in San Diego, so I know that you'll be very familiar with the conversation.
Yep.
But that, for me, has made a big difference. And I think when I started streaming, I could not stand the sound of my own voice. It was a real jarring experience to be able to hear it, because actually you very rarely hear your own voice the way that it's actually being kind of sent out. The nice thing about this meant that I can just do that.
I think real-time monitoring, like, that's a really good topic actually to get into, because real-time monitoring, as you said, is something that, especially if you are using a gaming headset that's USB, which will be using the Windows audio drivers, which are not great.
Putting it one way.
It causes that significant latency where it's about 150 to 100 milliseconds. And that is
enough to mess up your brain.
Yeah, you just can't talk through that. But when people actually finally get that real-time monitoring setup like you have, something like the Wave 3 with headphones is just a perfect... You're not getting your VSTs and your DSs, but at least you're hearing yourself. I find that it does change how a streamer will actually talk to stream, because they won't do this, because you'll see a lot of streamers who've got gaming headsets, because their gaming headset can be wireless. They'll start talking and they'll go over here and they'll be like... And then they'll come back and be like, "Oh, chat, did you hear me?" And they haven't, because they don't know what they sound like. But I'm sure you'll notice when you turn away, you'll hear that dip in volume because you're physically not facing the microphone, and it does change in a positive way the way that you actually handle audio, especially your voice on stream.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have to bend down for the cat quite a lot. As many of you might know, I can probably show you across the camera because he's right next to me. So let me just take a quick photo. There he is. That's my cat. He's right next to me.
Yeah.
There we go. There's Bailey. He likes to come and say hi during the stream. Now the problem is that I have to bend down to do that. So you can still hear me here, and I can still hear that you hear me here because I can still hear myself. But if I turn away, you can hear there's a distinct difference in terms of how much you pick up. So it's nice to be able to hear that and to be able to respond kind of appropriately. And I think it also helps that if I have a real habit of explaining something incredibly quickly. My brain is too focused on the explained part and not on the slow part. That has been very helpful for me to get better at actually like holding back on things to give people time to like understand, to ask questions. The fact that chat has a slight delay on it as well means that I've learned outside of streaming slightly better about giving people more room to ask the question, to think about their question before they immediately ask it, rather than having that, oh, they're not going to say anything, I could just continue with the conversation.
Yeah.
And that's helpful as well. But I think that for me, real-time monitoring has made a real difference. but also that means that I don't necessarily hear the decompressed, de-essed, the noise gated version of myself. So sometimes that can be an issue in itself. And I know that we were talking about how I could hear real time myself and with all of those effects on without having kind of an XLR at some point. So I know that obviously there's things in the works, lots of improvements that are working in that space.
We do. There are updates to MixKey, which is obviously Steinberg's own virtual mixer for streamers. There's a lot coming for that, which will facilitate people to be able to do that. And also with the integration of audio interfaces, which a lot of streamers will have an XLR audio interface, especially if they run, the classic microphone, the SM7B, which
everyone has it seems like.
I would say spend 400 quid on a really good audio interface rather than the mic, but hey ho, that's just me. But it's interesting to see how many people have the ability for real-time monitoring, but aren't able to because of either software or the setup, or they're just not aware that it's easy to set up if you have the right software.
I don't even think it's that. I think that most people find it very difficult to get around that mental barrier of not liking to hear their own voice. For example, I have the stream for this open in the background on Twitch, so I can hear myself with about 2.5 seconds delay back. So I know that when I start to stream, that might have thrown me off, but I've had time to get used to that. Other people won't, and I really think that some people really don't like hearing how they sound, because that initial, whoa, that's me, I sound like that. That's quite hard to get over for a lot of people, and the older you get and the more used to it you get, I think the harder it can be.
Yeah, I always have the issue with my voice that I sound significantly more nasally and higher pitched than I sound in my head voice. Everyone always hears their voice usually with a lot more rumble, quite literally bass inside in your head. For obvious reasons, your vocal cords are right there. And that took me a while, but I was lucky that I had the musical background to have always been in this sort of situation where I needed to hear myself. Alpha BHH in chat asked, is a Focusrite Solo a good or bad interface? This is always an interesting one, which I'll quickly answer because I do feel it's poignant to the topic. The Focusrite interfaces, or the Solo Yamaha interfaces, etc. There's quite a few that have that similar premise of single input, headphone out, etc. They're not bad. The Focusrite Solo isn't bad. You see a lot of people really dunking on Focusrite and smaller interfaces like that. And no, they're not. Sometimes the drivers can be a bit funky, but it just takes finding and installing the correct one. 90% of the time, people have installed the wrong driver.
This is what I had an issue with getting into audio in the first place, was actually an awful lot of audio issues, devices, people's information all seems to be very subjective based on the room they're in, their individual voice, the environment they're in, the layout of their screens. Because obviously people forget, I think, that if you've got, for example, like a big curved screen in front of you, well, that's going to be reflecting sound back at the back of your microphone if it's directly in front of you.
Yep.
You've got your mic coming from the side. Well, all of a sudden you're talking into the side of your microphone like this, which is weird. Positioning, the room layout, even the material on the wall makes a fundamental difference to how you can come across in terms of sound. Like, I've got no soundproofing in this room, nothing like that. That would probably help some of the sound, kind of the feel of it. But I feel like this about most things. There comes a point in the amount of effort you're putting into your setup where you're never going to get to perfect. So how many hours is too many? That's such an individual proposition for value. That
we have the saying in the music world of, a mix is never done, but should be occasionally abandoned. And it's true. You can mix a song consistently for months at a time, and you'll end up going back to your previous, version 1 and go, oh, well, that was better, because you hear it, you over engineer it, you hear it, you over engineer it. And it's something you were saying there about the room, etc. A lot of people will hear someone on a stream. They will ask that streamer what they're using as an interface or a microphone. They will go, oh, it sounds great for them. It's going to sound great for me. They will buy it. They will rig it up and hate it because, as you said, each setup and each room and everything is wholly unique.
Very different.
It's a lot better for people to take the time to maybe understand some of the base audio concepts, like a microphone, for example. The SM7B, while a phenomenal microphone, don't get me wrong, I use it to mic up my hi-hat because it doesn't work for my voice because I don't have those lower tones, which is really great at going for. Microphones have frequency response charts that, you know, a lot of people, when I explained to them what they were, they went, oh, so this microphone's going to be really bad for my voice. I'm like, yes. And then they go and buy something that actually suits them. They get it in the room with their voice. It sounds incredible. And it's funny to see how many setups there are out there for content creators and what people consider good and bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the key thing, just to finish answering Alpha ABHH's question, is it's more about, yes, there are bad interfaces. Of course, there's good and bad everything, but most of the time, you just need to go and do the research on what that thing provides for you, and you'll find the one that fits correctly. But yeah.
My advice to anyone who's looking to get into streaming content creation is you are 100% always going to be better off going down the ease and reliability of use at first. Don't spend $400, £400 on a hugely, detailed audio setup when you don't know anything about audio. You're just creating stress for yourself and spending more than you need to. If you can pick up a 150 quid mic like I did and sound good, I get a bunch of compliments on how I sound, that's good enough. And this thing works consistently day in, day out. Updates are great, software is great. That's all I really want as a content creator, is I know my mic works and I can take it anywhere I need to, rejig it slightly, and it will do the job via USB. Yeah.
So that you're great at this. The segue there is perfect into I like to ask all of the creators we have on the podcast if they could go back and give themselves advice when they started, or give other streamers who have just started sort of like 3 top tips. What are your real 3 quick top tips that when you learned the thing, just it changed your understanding of that aspect? What is the knowledge you could impart? Because every single person has had a different reply, or at least for 2 of them. The third one always seems to be the same, and I want to see whether you follow that trend. But yeah, what's Khronos' 3 top tips for streaming?
1, hide your view account. Never look at your own view account. While you're live, that number will hurt you. Don't ever look at it. You'll never be happy with that number. Number will never be satisfying enough to you. Don't look at it. If you think you might be okay with it, still don't look at it, because the day will come when you are not okay with it. You have a bad day, you're having a bad time. You don't want to see that number. So it'll be there at the top. You should be able to see it. Don't get me wrong. When you need to, don't have it constantly there staring at you like the Eye of Sauron. Not helpful. Watching the numbers and getting the hardest part of streaming is the mental health management of it, because at the end of the day, you are your own boss. You are accountable to yourself, and when you aren't making enough or you haven't got enough viewership, it's very easy to fall in some very dark places. And a lot of content creators I know, the largest part of my engagement with them is talking to them and trying to basically big them back up when they're having a hard time, because Twitch is a rough platform. There's very bad visibility on it, and that view account number is not any actual measuring of success, even though external companies and Twitch and other people treat it like it is. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
But my first and foremost advice is hide that view account number, and don't have that visible just as and when so you can always see it, because that's not healthy for you long term.
Yeah. I'd also,
God.
Before we do number 2, I would just say that truly, for anybody who is watching or watching this back at a later date, that is one of the best pieces of advice you can have, especially as well. It does extend past the view account on screen, which is don't overanalyze your numbers. Don't go in and look when people dropped off and things, and try and mathematically deduce what you were doing at that time that made people leave, because you'll just drive yourself crazy. You truly will.
This is a great example. Is right now viewership on Twitch is down about 15%. The war externally means that people just don't want to be online, so people just don't log onto Twitch.
Yeah,
you can't control that as a streamer. But if you're watching your numbers, you're gonna be like, oh, why am I down 15% over normal? This isn't right. Oh, normally an hour in I've got 100 viewers, now I've only got 85. You'll start undermining yourself, and for the rest of that stream, you're not going to be on your game. You're not going to be focusing on entertaining. You're trying to basically you're trying to hold a mask up to your face. It's not good for you, man. That's just...
I mean, the amount of people that we saw over COVID explode, right? Because everyone was at home.
Everyone was online.
And they were like, oh, look, that's incredible for me. I can make a streaming career, and then everyone goes back to the office or whatever happened to them after COVID, and streamers started beating themselves up as if they've done something horrendously wrong. And it's like, no, just not everyone sat at home with 24 hours a day to try and kill while we're waiting to get out of a pandemic. And it's so easy to overlook those environmental and external changes sometimes and put everything down to, oh, I said the wrong thing on stream, when you definitely might not have. Sorry, yes, truly fantastic point. So, I think number two.
The number two is going to be, this isn't unique to just streaming content creation. This is true of, I would say, outside in your wider life. Anything that goes between you and the ground that you spend a long amount of time in, invest in. Good chair and a good desk for streaming content creation, really important. Even if you're just creating YouTube videos, you're still sat at your desk for an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours at a time. You need to be getting up and stretching. You need a desk that's going to support you, and you need a chair that's going to protect you while you do that, because you only have one spine. I've had spine problems since I was 12 years old, so I know more than most that you only get one spine. Trust me on this. I've tried to get a spare one. The manufacturer says that she can't do anything about it.
They're really not. They don't shine well on you borrowing others as well.
No. Yeah, you can't RMA a spine. Yeah, your mum won't let you send it back. It's not how that works. So my second bit of advice is really invest in yourself and protect yourself long term. You need to have the long term view about your health. Sitting down, streaming, content creating, working at a desk, even when you're in office. You're meant to be getting up regularly, stretching out, looking after your body, hydrating. That makes a big difference. And if you don't believe me, spend a whole day where you don't hydrate properly for the 8 hours where you're working, and then the next day fully hydrate yourself properly. See the difference in both your productivity and your mental health. It is wild. So my second one is, I didn't realize, particularly at the start of streaming, how much I was forgetting to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If I was doing 10 hours, I'd get up, I hadn't eaten, I hadn't had enough to drink that day. If you wake up, you stand up and you're all shaky, like, oh, maybe I should look after myself during my stream a bit more. So the second thing that I learned a lot and learned very quickly was that you have to take care of yourself while you're content creating, and that also includes, your environment.
Yeah, good.
But that extends outside of streaming, because I say the same thing about a good bed, a good pair of shoes. Even a car. Like, make sure your car seat is properly adjusted to your height, to how you sit and how you drive, because you only get one body.
And, the hydration point as well that everyone is now speaking about in chat. A hydration break quickly. Cheers. But you have to form those good habits when you are streaming. And that's the key thing. It has to be a habit, because if you have to consciously do it, you will forget. But whenever I'm game streaming, I always have, or drum streaming, I always have this thing that after every song or after every, I've been playing Call of Duty a lot myself, after every significant engagement while I'm running between, one person I'm trying to, brutally murder and the next, in game,
in Minecraft,
in Minecraft, I will make sure that I take a sip of my drink, because that it has slowly over time become something that if I don't, I will start to feel a bit more dry-mouthed or something like that. But it means that I keep that constant level. It's again, absolutely fantastic advice. So number 3, then, I want to see if it's the same as the others or everyone else who's been on the podcast.
Number 3 is that you can go into streaming with the biggest, best setup you possibly have. You can have £1,000 cameras, you could have all the screens, all of the camera equipment, everything you need. You will learn things very quickly that you do need certain things that you don't have, and you don't need what you have gotten. There is no such thing as a minimum setup. You can start streaming on Twitch on your phone. You can start making YouTube videos from your phone. You don't need a mic or a hugely expensive setup. You don't need, DJI minis or anything like that. If you're doing IRL streaming, you can just go live from your phone. So I think that for me, I was quite focused on getting the right setup, getting everything so it was professional. But you don't have to do that. That was a very unique setup for me. And actually, there are some things that I've picked up before I started streaming that actually I haven't needed quite as many light arms, etc. as I needed. So I've got a couple of them sitting around. You know, I had a green screen, found that actually the green of the green screen wasn't too good in terms of light management in the small room I'm in. So I instead switched for a blue screen. I then got rid of the blue screen and I painted my wall blue, which has helped. It's been quite nice.
Tell you what, it works really nicely right now, which for anybody who's watching it, you will have noticed Khronos is on a black background. That is obviously not an incredibly dark Vanta black room. That is
it's like this.
Yeah, and the good thing as well, a blue screen really nicely suits your chair because your chair has the blue etching. So it actually just looks like it's the color of your chair. It really nicely blends in.
It's actually a mesh part of the chair. You can actually see my hand behind it.
Yeah, which is
so it makes it work. It doesn't look like doesn't stand out as being a problem, which is really, really nice and really helpful.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think Sabu Maru, I love saying your name like that. I'm so sorry if it's wrong, but has an interesting question. Do you think there is a difference there with streamers that show their face and those that use PNG or V models? I could say you could also say the same with people who just don't have a camera at all.
I had this conversation before I started streaming with a couple of quite large VTubers, one being Iron Mouse, and she said that actually the self-care for her is more important because of her health needs, but actually a lot of the VTubers she knows are actually more able to take care of themselves off camera because the VTubing avatar is still there. If you need to lean over, grab a drink, grab a bite to eat, you can mute yourself on mic. But if I, mute myself on the microphone and take myself on camera, that's far more visible. So actually some people have told me that VTubing wise, it's been easier for them to take those opportunities, but it's still about learning to do that, about building the hydration check into your own pattern of behavior. So you still need to get that done. And that's independent of if you use no camera, if you're a VTuber, or if you're a full camera streamer.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a huge difference in there in terms of the behavior pattern building, but it's still about having to have the time when you can take that break to do it. Because at the end of the day, you're still on screen, you're still entertaining. You can't just pop off screen every 30 seconds so that you can have a bite to eat. That's not how that works.
Yeah. I mean, I've always found when friends of mine who have said, oh, I really want to start streaming because they particularly want to share a game. That's usually what will happen. They'll be like, I had a friend who he's incredible at streaming Minecraft now, and he's incredible specifically at building in Minecraft. Like, his thing is amazing creative builds. Truly, he uses world edit and goes ham. But at first he was like, I'm not confident about how I look on stream. He didn't have the money to spend on a nice camera, or particularly you can make a crap camera look great with good lights, but he just couldn't afford those. And he had ummed and ahed, and I just suggested, well, don't have a camera then. Just have a little picture, of something. It doesn't even need to be animated. So he went live without a camera and now streams to several hundred people.
Amazing.
And he only put his camera on, I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago. And again, he's been streaming now for 4.5 years. And that really helped his mental health and his approach to the stream, because there was just that added, immediate offloaded idea of, oh, I need to look good, or I need to look better than he felt. Bless him.
I need to look X, I need to sound Y, I need to be ABC. There's no such thing when it comes to content creation. You can be yourself, you can be a VTuber, you can be anyone. And people are going to come for your personality and the content that you create and the value that you add rather than anything else. And I was having a very detailed conversation with another stream friend of mine last night about the culture of a stream. So he had recently been watching a 200 plus partnered CCV streamer. Somebody came in and one guide the streamer, and the streamer just turned around and told him to KYS. Not in Minecraft, was very serious about it. When chat called them out on it, they were like, nah, I mean it. I was like, that kind of culture to me is not about adding value to your community. That's about being negative, about being horrible. That's drama farming. So I'm not going to name names. I'm not in favor of drama farming kind of slop YouTubers, or the videos you see with AI created videos of someone crying in big red text saying he's cancelled and ruined. That kind of content never drives into me. And I find that if you're the kind of person who is going to be ripping your community apart or ripping other people apart, you're not really adding value to a community. And I think that you
Not really
add value to a
creating.
community. Well, exactly. That's not correct. That's taking away.
You're creating if people form around that, you're creating a mob, not a community. Very different things.
And you'll have seen this recently with the uninformed masses thinking they know everything about a topic they don't, which is incredibly nuanced after what happened at the BAFTAs. And people online who are part of those, what I would call negative communities, don't have that, how do I say, like I say, it's not about content creation. It is about just driving income. And that's the difference. You, as a content creator, my opinion is that you should try and be positive. You should try and stay away from things that are going to make you angry or negative or hateful.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got enough of that going in their life at the moment. We don't need that added in the content creation space.
No.
We're already dealing with enough. Like, it's just not needed.
Yeah.
And creating content and creating value doesn't require a hugely powerful camera. It doesn't require the lighting. It requires you to be yourself, be genuine, and listen to a community, even if it's just one or two people.
Yeah. No, people want to come into your stream and they want to have a good time. That's the whole point.
Exactly.
I think that also nicely segues onto my favorite question that I ask everyone, which is, out of the time that you've been a content creator, specifically streaming, not moderating, what is your favorite moment that you've had? And everyone seems to have something. They go, "Oh, that's really hard," and then they immediately jump to something. Like for myself, it was the massive raid that allowed me to properly launch my channel. For other people, it's been the fact that they met their spouse through content creation. There's so many very different sort of opinions on what is their favorite moment, but do you have one?
No. The reason for that is, the reason I can say no, is because a lot of those favorite moments, like meeting awesome people who are still friends now, I did before I was a content creator. There are people who I am still friends with now who I've known for 10 years on Twitch. I'm very, very lucky in that regard to have had some FaceTime with some really, really awesome people. So before I was streaming it, I would say my favorite moment would be getting to meet, he now goes by Pete, but he was Premier 2 on the platform before. I met him and CDog VA, now CDog, at TwitchCon EU 2024. I think at the same time as I met you.
Yeah.
I think it was the same TwitchCon as I met you. And the way that I was treated as a community, I had a community member badge. Wasn't even an affiliate, never streamed before. The treatment I got from them and the encouragement that I got from them made such a difference to me that really stands out as a moment inside of my content creating kind of journey.
Yeah.
Before I'd even gone live. For me, the thing that stands out is that I frequently get to the end of a stream and I don't think I've done that well, but I will have messages from the community, from my friends, from the moderators being like, "Yeah, I had a great stream today." That every single time it happens, when someone's like, "You know what, I was having a hard day. It's been really nice to come here and hang out." Every single time that happens is what makes it worth it for me. So it has to be, I think, the day to day. If it wasn't for the day, if it was only for those peak moments, and I'm not generally like a peak moment kind of person. I tend to forget those peak moments. It's the day to day, the day in, day out. It's knowing I've made a difference, I think, is what nice for me. And that's not a one-off event kind of thing.
No, that's lovely. Truly. Again, though, I would say that is a favorite. Like, that is almost a peak moment in itself, in the fact that it's continuous.
Yes.
And I have the opinion that I love my stream, but the moment that it would stop making someone's day or making one person happier, I wouldn't do it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's again, another top tip from indirectly from you there is, do it for the love of it, do it for the fun and the effect it has on people.
Do it because you want to, not for the money, because I tell you what, unless you're in the top 100 200 on Twitch, you're not making the money that people say when people are like, "Oh yeah, streamers make loads of money," you're talking about the top 100 on the platform. Outside of that, if you're the basic way that I explain to people is, if you've got 100 CCV, you're going to get about $10 in ads for a 6 to 8 hour stream doing a normal game. So if you've got 2,000 people, you'll probably make $200 for that stream. That's great, but most people on Twitch probably have significantly less than that. I think the average viewer count on Twitch is far, far lower. That's like 4 people.
Yeah.
Like I say, Twitch does not make the money that people think it does. It's not it's not kind of, you don't get paid in commensurate with your effort. You could put in 150 hours a week into streaming, every single waking moment almost, and still have one viewer. It's about being reasonable with yourself on it.
Yeah, it's starting streaming can be definitely a tough one because it does. I mean, I really experienced this when I started. It's all about luck. It really is just, you get someone wander in who goes, "Oh, I've just recommended you to my 5 friends." And that genuinely catapults your viewer count from 0 to 5. It's like, whoa. And I remember the first time I hit organically 10 viewers on the stream, and I had like a mini stream celebration that day because it was such a big milestone. Yeah, people see the Kai Cenats and the PirateSoftwares and everyone who have these incredibly large communities, but they don't realize the amount of time that's gone into slowly get to that point.
That's the PirateSoftware ones were always funny because it was like, overnight success that took 7 years. Yeah, okay, sure, overnight success. And that's how it will be on Twitch. It'll be, you might have 0 viewers, and then you might end up with 5,000 the next day. You get a lucky raid, you get a lucky front page. You're never going to know, and it's about taking every day differently. And as long as you're adding value and doing it for the love of it, that's the important bit. But if you're chasing viewership numbers, you're chasing the money, you'll be disappointed, and it will likely devastate your mental health.
Also, it shows. If you're just going after money, it really shows to people watching. However, speaking of numbers, not that necessarily your answer is going to relate to numbers, looking at the time, I think we have time just for one last question, which is for you. Now, you've been doing live streaming, what?
10 months.
10 months.
Is when I've been live. Yep.
Yeah.
Full time.
So, going into the next year of Khronos' stream, what are your goals? And do you have any? Like, is there something that you want to aim for, be it big or small, to be honest? Is there something on your radar, or is it just you want to keep a trajectory going? Like, is there something that to you jumps out as, for me, when I hit that, I'll be happy? Not as in happy overall for the rest of time, but just something.
I'm not normally a goal-driven person. I'm a very day-by-day person, as I kind of mentioned before that answer.
Yeah.
So I haven't got like I want to hit X viewer count, X follower number by X days. I don't have I want to, have X sponsorship for X game this year. I think for me, the fact that I've been able to do this so far has been a real blessing. I'm very grateful to a large number of my community for their support and their love. I think that my goal is basically just to continue, going live each day, working around my life. I've got, a grandmother who's quite unwell. I've got, a 16-year-old cat who moved in with me a couple of years ago. I've got other priorities. The nice thing, is that my stream is alongside those, and that, I can do that as and when I have the capacity to. But if I need to stop it, for a day, I can, which is really nice. I think that for me, just people feeling they've been part of the community is the main goal. And that's a very ephemeral goal. So I think that in terms of set things, I've got a subathon for my birthday, which is coming up in a week and a half. What's the date? Yeah, 9 days time. It's my birthday. So that's kind of the only kind of date that's in my mind. Then it's, things like DreamHack. It's not about, I think, a goal for me, and I don't know if that's the way I've ever been. I didn't even start streaming for a particular goal. I started streaming basically because the community asked me to. They wanted to hear more from me and see more of what I did, behind the scenes, and I've been really grateful for their love and support. So I guess that my goal is to continue showing up and continue working on myself, because I've learned more about myself in the last 10 months of streaming than probably 5 years of corporate work.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, it's just continue the kind of the growth, the changes, learning about myself a bit more and actually kind of going from there. I think it's not a nice, clean, neat answer, unfortunately, but I think that's the most honest one there is.
The whole point of this podcast is to get a glimpse into each creator's ethos, their journey, and where they want to go, whether that be they want to climb Mount Everest or they just want to make sure they can go live every day and continue that. And there's never an expected answer, and I love the fact that for you it is just that continuation, which is something that a lot of people sometimes overlook, especially when they're having a bad day. It's like, hey, you still went live today. You might not have climbed Everest. You might not have even gotten to base camp, but you sat down and you went live and you either made a difference to someone or made a difference for yourself. And that is,
I think,
never to be
making
overstated.
a difference for someone. Making a difference for someone is the real key bit. I having been in moderation, having seen the fall off of moderation staff across platforms like Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, every single social media platform, every single content creation platform has let go of trust and safety staff since COVID because there's less people online. But the internet's becoming quite an angry and hateful place sometimes. And the main thing I really want from my community is for my Discord server, my stream, to be a place where we are safe away from that. And anybody who comes in with an attempt to disrupt it, I will just remove, because that's not what we're about. It's about being inclusive, about protecting the people who are there, and having somewhere that we're all kind of safe away from all the bullshit that's going on elsewhere online. I guess that's the kind of the mission statement for the community, to try and be good to each other and try and kind of give each other a safe place to be ourselves.
Yeah,
because that's ultimately what my stream is for me. It's a safe place for me to try and learn about myself and to put out content. And I know that my content won't be for everyone. I mean, the main thing will be I'm looking directly at the camera. So I have a teleprompter. I see chat on the teleprompter. Some people are like, you're looking into my soul and it scares me, so I'm going to leave. Fine, so be it. That's not for everyone. Not every stream is. But, you know, things like that. If you don't like the stream, I don't require people to be there. But I think that, you know, I'll continue to keep my stream the safe place that I want it to be. And I think, so in terms of a goal, it's probably the only one I really have.
That's lovely. Right, everyone. So we have about maximum 10 minutes left. So there are quite a few people in chat, which means I think we're going to get some this time. But are there any questions from anybody watching right now across the 3 channels that you would like to ask Khronos directly, that you maybe haven't been able to get an answer for before? And if it's, would he like to acquire Ashes of Creation IP? I'm sure that's not it.
I'd rather poop in my hands and clap.
But yes, if anybody has a question, please let us know now, and we'll try and get to as many of them as possible. But while we're waiting for questions, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who has watched today. Thank you, Khronos, for coming on at such short notice as well. He filled in for, sadly, another guest had to cancel last minute. You know, no hard feelings there, but I hope they're okay. If anybody here is a streamer, and because, you know, Steinberg is an audio company, you can go and check out Mixkey, which I've just posted in the Twitch chat, and you can find on through the YouTube channels, through the various links in the descriptions. Sorry, but go and check out Mixkey. It is the virtual software mixer which can be used to help you with getting your audio setup ready to go live. And if you're one of the people who finds audio stressful, which there are many out there, this might be the little boost and help that you need to get going, because it helps fix some key things, hence the name, that people struggle with, and makes it easy. So yeah, shameless plug. But yeah,
it's not really shameless if it's on the Steinberg channel. I'm going to be honest with you. That kind of seems like you're doing your job. Like, that's not.
I look at me go. Oh, so we have one question. Why are you like this?
I've spent 10 years on Twitch, and I've spent 15 years playing EVE Online. That's why I'm like this.
It's EVE Online's fault then. So
yeah, blame EVE Online.
Yeah. Next one. Will you wear wigs?
Maybe.
When will you wear wigs?
Maybe after the subathon, depends on chat.
Oh, okay. I was fully prepared to go for the whole bit there, but no.
Oh, I know. I was preparing Elijah Wood's laugh in my head, where he just kind of he basically falls forward off the camera.
I will ask your question at the end, Balthazar. A violent mango, sorry, asks best Tesco meal deal.
Oh, it depends. Depends on what time of day you're having your meal, dear. If you're having it for a lunchtime, what you want a Coronation chicken sandwich. Absolutely great. They do a very good job with the Coronation chicken sandwiches. Snack can really vary. If you're wanting a dessert, I would personally recommend a good Twix. Big fan of a Twix.
Haven't had Twix in yes.
But if you've not had enough like protein, or like you've got like a gym day, you've got like a long walk, you might want to go for like the egg. You can get whole eggs and like dip, like an egg, carrots, and dip, if I recall correctly, which is quite nice. And then for a drink, water, orange Lucozade. If you're feeling really fancy, white Monster. If you really want to
push the boat out.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You have to be careful. Like the sugar tax, on those fizzy drinks, they extra like 6p on the meal deal or whatever it is.
It's significant. It's not £3.50 anymore.
It's certainly not. No.
So Yarrow 2012 has a streaming related question. I have never streamed, and I'm considering making a stream around my garden/greenhouse. I'm putting together. Do you think? Around my garden/greenhouse I'm putting together. Do you think that would be an interesting stream for people? My gut reaction is yes, because if you ever doubt whether someone's going to watch something, everyone will watch anything on Twitch.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that it depends on what it is that you're doing for that. I think that you end up kind of in a really interesting line there. If you are building a garden/greenhouse, that will do really, really well on YouTube. That's the kind of thing that people will want to be able to watch you do it all the way through and go back to that. Doing it live, because it only happens once, not necessarily going to grab the same kind of audience, but that's one I would definitely recommend, making sure that you're going to broadcast to YouTube as well, because you can do that. And it will save all those videos there so you can have them as a video for future as well. And there's a lot of people really like to see like projects like develop on YouTube, I've seen.
I was going to say, if that's going to take a while over several days, or you're planting things, if you get something that can record for a significant amount of time, sort of like a little GoPro, stick that up, get a big memory card for it, time lapse the whole thing, put some lo-fi music over it. Perfect, like background YouTube video for people. I have that type of thing on all the time, especially someone online who does forging. Amazing, cool. Amazing to watch and just have on in the background. But again, it's live and there's a recorded video, so no, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pick out the ones that are streamer related. However, Rad Thordax asks, I want to ask Greg why he's interviewing notable successful streamer Bailey's personal assistant rather than the big B himself.
Well, you have met B, which is nice. You have actually one of the people who's met Bailey.
I have graced Bailey in his presence, in his aura.
He is asleep right now. I wonder if I can. Give me a second. I think I can do this. I could be smart and do this.
While you do that, the Great Goddess Freya put a very good comment in there, which I think Yarrow is a good one to consider, which is it's easy to forget how many people watch Twitch and YouTube. You will find an audience. And look, we can see a bit of Bailey on stream.
He is. He's literally you can see I can just boop him right now. Just I'm not going to. That would be mean. But this is why he's not being interviewed. I'm actually standing in for him. This was the content creator who Greg who's meant to be interviewing.
Yeah.
But he's just too sleepy. He's just too cute and too sleepy. But yeah, there you go.
When you got to snooze, you got to snooze.
Yeah, you know what? Completely fair.
But yeah,
I'm not going to boop the Bailey. No.
Well, I think looking at the time, unfortunately, that is the sort of last question we can have. To everyone who is here who hasn't gone and followed Khronos, you can follow him under KhronosVII over on Twitch and I believe all the other platforms. You have consistent branding, don't you?
Yes, there's my Twitch link over on Twitch.
Thank you.
But it's just KhronosVII on Twitch and YouTube. Nice and easy.
Yeah. Go and check him out. Absolutely fantastic stream to watch. Everyone, if you want to come back, we are doing these podcasts weekly at the moment. We go and talk. I go and find and talk to an interesting content creator every week, and we get their insight into what it's like to be a streamer and to put out content on the internet. Again, if you want to check out Mixkey, which is built by Steinberg for streamers and anybody who needs to have an audio setup for, say, Zoom calls and things like that, you can check that out on the link I've posted as well. But yes, I have one final question for you, which is, at the end of every single stream, we let the content creator who has joined us choose who we raid on Twitch. So, do you have any suggestions?
Oh, do I have any suggestions?
Yeah, I should have preemptively given you that question, I realize, but hey ho.
Yes, I have a friend who is creating a 2D dungeon crawler in Godot. She is currently doing games. She's based in Poland. Really, really awesome streamer. Absolutely lovely. She actually was my DM at a D&D session at TwitchCon in EU, so last year, April. Really, really great person called Jackie Jackie_codes.
Could you
very much would recommend.
Drop me that
I can
in
drop the
Discord?
Yeah, most certainly can. That's
but yes. So finally, everyone, we're going to go over on Twitch and raid Khronos' friend. But if you are watching over on either the Mixkey or the Steinberg YouTube channels, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next time. So if you want to drop either of the channels a subscription or on Twitch a follow, you can come back whenever we go live next time. But yeah, I really appreciate you jumping on at such short notice.
No, it's my pleasure. I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
It's been fantastic to chat. It truly has. Right, let me grab that and do the raid command. There we go. The raid is going. So everyone, we will head over and raid Jackie. But until next week, I hope you all have a great rest of your week and weekend. And we'll, see you next time.
Thank you for having me. See everyone from my community tomorrow. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah. Bye, guys.